Hello. Part of our Pims Cost Management product roadmap was to create generic interfaces for commitments and transactions and other interfaces. So today we would like to present you with the API interfaces we created for the Pims Cost Management product. And basically the transactions interface is used to capture the booked costs from financial systems and get it into Pims either by contract or by the WBS structure. There is a verification tool built into this interface where it is possible to analyze and verify the data for consistency, for required information. The tool also allows it automatically to be mapped to the WBS structure, and then the booked cost can be imported. In regards to commitments interfaces, also it has a built-in verification tool which analyzes the data and then either maps and creates registers commitments against existing contracts in Pims or creates new contracts based on the settings. It is also possible in both interfaces to use the API interface developed by our Upframe team, or it is also possible to just import the data via the Microsoft Excel files. So I will pass a word to Augustas Grikšas, the main developer who was involved in this job.
Hello, my name is Augustas. Today I'm going to show you a couple applications that were developed in Klaipėda's office of Omega. I work in cost management, and these two applications, transactions and commitments, were developed to use Upframe's data APIs. So let's start with transactions. If you see this message, it means that configuration is not in configuration menu. You need to enable use transactions interface checkmark. And when you select it, additional option will appear here for configuration, and then you'll be able to access this application. For data to appear here, we're going to use data APIs developed by Upframe team. Documentation for data APIs can be found and in documentation web data APIs. There is information how to set it up and some samples how to use it. Those exposed views will be used for CRUD operations, create, update, delete, and so on. Additionally, for interaction with data APIs, I'm going to be using Postman, additional application. You can probably do these calls from your command line, but for demonstration purposes, to be more visual, I'm going to use this one. So how does this work? First of all, to communicate with data API, you need to log in and get a cookie authorization token. To do it, you're going to use this URL with these values, or this user is set up that way. It only has access to those two views for updating and other operations. So first of all, let's send a request. It says true. It means it was successful. To get some transactions in, we're gonna use again data API. So you basically go to this URL. You're gonna post some data. Operation create, resource name, cost transactions. Again, it's this name. Then you list all the fields that are used in this or can be used in this operation. And over here you have basic data that you're gonna send to your Pims instance. So first of all, we need to also set up in configuration some additional information regarding project ID, because through that project ID, applications know which data to to map to which domain. So in configuration, if we see interface projects, we paste this one. So what it will do, all data coming through data API will check project ID and map it to green energy. Let's send one. It says successful data. Then let's add another one, for example, document number. And let's adjust another one. Okay, so we send some data to the transactions API, but you can't see it over here. You need to check for new data. It pops in. What it does, it just checks another data source inside where data API pushed the data. But for you, if you don't want always to check for new, press this button, you can set up AF scheduler job to use and just execute that fetch data from raw tables to this view. So what we have here, we have all the information that was sent. What's the workflow? We verify data. We see that, for example, there's Pims work package is not specified. You can specify work package by hand, for example, or you can use another feature that we implemented in configuration, work packages mapping. You can choose VBS element or cost element. We will choose VBS element and add in, I missed the criteria. Let's take a look. What do we have? Work package VBS. We have ABB or ACC. So let's choose ABB for the sample. So A.BB. Let's map it to work package. This one. Let's go back to transactions. Let's verify the data. We see that both of them were successfully verified. It says in the import status. Then what we do next? We can see in configurations we have two options, copy to contracts and copy to projects. What it will do, what each of them does is that copy to contracts, it will copy to contractor's baseline. If you added a contract number into transactions, as we did over here, it will copy to that contract, contractor's baseline, current cutoff, and cumulative booked value. Okay, let's mark it maybe. And copy to project, what it does, it copies to work packages phasing into cumulative booked value also. So let's mark those two. Let's go to transactions, then press import data. Okay, what do we have here? We see that status changed to imported. Let's look in those two applications before I mentioned. So it will be cost status, and we see right off the bat that references already has icons saying that this work package is used in transactions. So when I select it, check transactions, I see that there's two transactions added, and we see that the booked value for this cutoff is updated to represent what was important. Then we'll check contract, see if it managed to map that. Okay, contractors baseline, show all periods, show phasing data. Yeah, so the value is imported over here to current active cutoff and periodic data, booked value, cumulative booked value. So that's for transactions, I think. Let's see if we can get to commitments. Again, it's not enabled. So we go to configuration, press edit, use commitments, press save, additional tab appears over here. I already set some stuff up like interface project and work packages mapping, but for now let's import the data. Okay, so we have our commitments. Again, we utilizing data API provided by Upframe team. We're using this URL, but this time we're going to use this resource name and we're going to do bulk insert. And what it does, it's in data property, you setting up an array of different commitments. So let's send it. It says it went through. Yep, it helps. Okay, what's imported here? So here again we have reference document numbers, reference items, and so on and so forth. With best element, if we take a closer look at configuration of commitments, we see that project ID must be sample project from client on imported data, and VBS elements are mapped like this. So ABB is mapped to O2, ACC is mapped to O1. Let's go here. Let's verify data. We see that this one is not mapped. Other rows are mapped, and system will import those when I press import data. We now what we do have else in configuration for commitments. It's auto create contracts and copy to contracts. What basically it does, if you don't have this enabled, commitments should, when you verify, should start throwing information that it cannot find this reference number on any contract. So what it's doing, it's looking into contracts, POs, and looking, does this contract have PO number assigned? And it will map that commitment to this contract. So this PO number is assigned to this row. You see it doesn't throw any messages. So what it basically will do when I press import, it will create that element in that contract. It's marked as imported. Then when I go to cost breakdown, refresh, I see new element created with that commitments data. So in configuration, when I select auto create contracts and type of contract that we are going, so we're just going for basic contract and mark copy to contracts. In commitments, when I verify the data, see additional 2 lines will be verified. What it will do, it will create a contract by this reference number. So when I import data and I go to contracts, I see that additional 2 contracts are created by this reference number. So when I go in, I see that in cost breakdown, I have that element number that was mentioned somewhere here. I think it's using this cost element. Yeah. Additionally, yeah, you have all the information that went through that commitment. What can you do over here with this grid if you don't want to use contracts in any way? Contracts module, you basically can just download import template from Excel, fill in the sheet with the data you need, and then just go back and import that data from Excel, and you can have a register that keeps all your commitments over here. Also, you can use the data API and import that data through data API. One more thing that I wanted to mention is that in configurations, custom fields configurations. So in transactions module, in transactions application, I pressed the wrong one, transactions, I should be able to enable those two. Let's do it like that. Customizable fields that, depending on the logic on client side, can be imported or marked as required on client side, on marked as required on our side, and the client must provide those, otherwise it won't be imported. And those customized fields, for now we have just 4, but you might add those as you need. And field types, text, number, date, checkboxes, labels you can customize. You see this is custom label. And now when using data API, you can ask for client to upload that information. One more thing, I think, the last thing I want to mention is that we have in data structure of this, we have unique column where you can ask client to fill in unique column, and based on that column, client must provide unique key for each row, and that is checked when imported, so no duplications would be inserted. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye bye.